Well, hello everybody, and welcome once again to the Metaworld News, broadcast live here on Sansar every Sunday at 11 a.m. in the morning, or a bit later, depending on how inefficiently we're operating,
Mhm.
or how our software is operating for that matter. We've got Sansar, we've got Discord, we've got microphones, we've got mixers, we've got video feeds, we've got the whole lot.
So
And
much.
all it takes is one of them to go bananas, and we're scuppered, or at least delayed. Anyway, we are here now. My name is Mal Burns. The first name is Mal. The second name is Burns. But if you want to find me on Twitter, like anywhere else on the web, really, you have to squash me. Fortunately, you can't see my waistline on this avatar, but
Ah,
believe me, I have a struggle squashing me these days. However, squash me you must. And you can then go to twitter.com/Malburns, Malburns, all one word. And if you're really feeling ambitious, you can go to another squash job, which is twitter.com/Metaworld News, all one word. Although, well, there's some stuff there, mostly about virtual worlds rather than the general humongous everything. I don't even want to use the metaverse word these days.
oh,
I'm certainly not going to pluralize it. So,
oh
up
no.
yours,
Are you
metaverse.
jaded? Are you cynical? Oh,
I am jaded. I'm so cynical, and I am jaded. No, well,
oh.
quite frankly, I'm pissed off.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds better.
It's like rewriting the last 15 years of my history,
Yeah,
all for
yeah.
the sake of one abuse of one word. Anyway, getting on with it. We'll get on with it. We'll get on with it. Now, next to me here, chatting away to me, in fact, already. I haven't even introduced him, and he's on the ball already. It's James Atloud. Welcome, James.
Oh, thank you, Mal. I'm glad to be here. Glad we've got working what is working.
Yeah, and as it says on your T-shirt, just logging in.
Yeah, just
Just
log in.
logging
Yeah, I found a
in.
free
Yeah.
T-shirt today. This is a T-shirt created by a designer I haven't seen before, and that designer's
Oh.
name is, I'll put it up on screen here, Fabio Dreen. Fabio Dreen Store.
Ooh.
So it's a
Okay.
lovely
I like
shirt.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that name is familiar too, actually, which is
yeah, yeah.
interesting. Well, very much good
All
in
right.
that case.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, now it's come up. I'm obviously seeing an ad on my monitor here. Fabio Dreams Store.
Yep.
Oh, I can see buttons at the left-hand side
Yeah, I
too.
saw that. I'm sorry. I
No,
must have my
no,
mouse must have
never mind.
slipped.
Yeah,
My
never
mouse
mind.
slipped. What
Right.
can I say? I'm
Oh,
old.
my brain slipped. I didn't notice. And anyway, you know how finicky I am. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, welcome, James. Welcome to your T-shirt. And for those of you at home who also, as well as chatting with me, James is twiddling knobs behind the scenes, so that he can bring my screen to you. He can bring my avatar to you, bring you another shot, and um, well, do the whole works, mixing and matching and everything, both video and audio. So hard-working stuff. And we had a few glitches before we came on air today, and I do know what it's like because it's not a sort of glitch where you can just press a button saying fix glitch.
Oh
God,
yeah.
that's a tongue twister. That's a tongue twister, isn't it? Fix glitch. But
Siri,
yeah. Anyway,
Siri, fix the video. Siri.
I
Siri can't fix it. Sorry.
no, I have to say, good job I'm in headphones, or she'd have woken up and I'd
I
have
know, I
to
know.
just
I felt safe.
very good,
Yeah.
very good, very good. Right, okay. Well, I suppose we ought to get on with the bloody show. I've changed things around a bit this week in terms of, well, I'll explain as we go along. Uh, but I'm actually going to start with some very sad news indeed. We got a little picture up here on the screen, actually. Basically, on Friday, Linden Labs announced the passing of their CEO, Ebbe Altberg, who had been sort of not much around for a while, but there was no confirmation of illness or anything much going on. It was all kept under the radar a bit, I guess. But he did expire on Friday, surrounded by friends and family,
Oh.
and yeah, rather sad all round. Now, for those of you that um, if you don't use Second Life, You might be unaware of Ebbe Goldberg, but um, when the original visionary, Philip Roseberg, of course, started it nearly 2 decades ago now. It's amazing. And after Philip wanted to step back, there was a bit of a weird period. We had Mark Kingdom, we had Rodvik, and various other people coming in. And then and it was, I guess it was 2004, if I recall. So that's a good 6 years ago that sort of Ebbe came in to take the helm. And he's both an instant hit, both with the staff at Linden Lab and with users of the platform. He really exhibited a bit of that, well, more than a bit of the spirit that Philip had at the beginning. I don't think Ebbe can code or do some of the technical stuff Philip can, but he was jumping in, to the platform. And in fact, even before he became CEO, he was lurking there in the background. There's some of the stories about him are coming on air being delayed. They're not old news stories in the last day or so. And one of the things is originally he's sort of breaking the rules because he was in there and he was taking his son, who was underage at the time, into the adult platform.
Mhm.
And eventually he got banned, believe it or not. But that was all in passing, and it was all fairly harmless. But this is a nice anecdote.
Yeah.
But I interviewed him at least once. I think even twice. But over and beyond that, I've actually spoken. I never met him in real life, but I've met him in World and spoken on Skype and a whole load of other things, a load of times. And you can find them all sort of easy to talk to guy. Very alert, very much to my surprise, for somebody who I considered new when he took over at Second Life. Very interested in Open Simulator and other platforms too. Obviously, in his public persona at Linden Lab, he limited to how much he could talk about other things. But as a person, he was very interested in the whole kind of field. So it's a really sad loss. And Philip Roseberg himself was one of the first to post. Yeah, it's just a one-line tweet about saying how warm, generous, and man he was, and guy platform wouldn't be as what it is now if it wasn't for him, etc., etc. As
Mhm.
many people have chipped in too. So sad loss all round. Um, Now, Linden Lab have actually announced that they are going to set up a memorial. I don't know whether it's not more than a memorial event. It will be some kind of actual memorial, whether it's a whole region or in a Linden region or a public region, I don't know. But they have every intention to do so. Um, which will be the first time. Well, it's probably the first time the lab has had a CEO die on them, so maybe it's not surprising. But anyway, there will be follow up there. But something else that is of great interest here too is that we're actually broadcasting for our studio here is in Sansar. And Sansar was very much the brainchild of Ebbe.
Mhm.
I mean, there was some talk of it before he took the reins, so to speak, but he was the one who guided it from concept and idea into fruition. And he was CEO of Linden Labs, of course, when Sansar was Linden Labs for over a year or something. And so what we see here now and everything else, a lot of it is down to him. The aspirations of the Wookiee, the new owners of Sansar, are slightly different. They're focused on events and also real world monetization of virtual events. But also, although you can't yet at least build and share content between users in world, it's still fairly easy to actually build something and then put it online so that you can appear in it, like the studio. Yeah, it's not as easy as something like Second Life, but it was never intended to be. Visually, you can do a hell of a lot more here with a studio or anything else. The lighting, especially in Soundside, is considered to be top notch. But all this, a new kind of platform for sort of a Second Life 2 for a different era. If you sort of see, well, not Second Life 2 because they're not very comparable. But
Mhm.
anyway, it was the driving force in that, and I think it's probably fair to say now that Although when Wookie took over here, Ebby did not disappear. He just changed his name so nobody knew who he was. But those who did know who he was, they'd find him wandering around talking and chatting away, and not particularly conscious of NDAs and things like that. So I guess it was, nobody blew the trumpet, as what the blog said, sort of. So he obviously felt comfortable coming in and meeting people and stuff, which is interesting. So it's not just Second Life and Linden Lab, of course, that the morning is passing, but also the guys here at Sansar, and I'm sure in many other places too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It hasn't got a sort of long public record of, unlike Philip, you haven't got real media and a whole load of other things back down the chain. But also, he's 11 years younger than me, which, I mean, he wasn't young, but I mean, he certainly wasn't of an age where one would have expected this. So it's really sad. And we have no details as to whether it was related to the dreaded COVID. The decline certainly happened during the period where that virus has emerged. Um, but the only, they've been very quiet about it. The only thing that I say people did notice was he was really suffering quite a lot of weight loss. So
Mm.
um, I'm no doubt we'll find out more as time goes by. But anyway, very sad day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today, but especially on Friday, of course. But if you're following the blogs and things, you will hear more about it. All the major bloggers have done their own tributes as well. And as I say, stuff will be happening in World 2.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe there's a concert in his memory tonight, but it's not a Linden organised one. It's one that put together at probably somebody's venue, whatever. Anyway, as I say, very sad news there. So moving on. While I've got the picture department open, so to speak, I'm going to show you a couple more that are kind of relevant. Um, right, Tuesday, this will be June the 8th. The future of work, how to get started with VR and virtual 3D spaces with a wow factor. This is Gabby Slezak. You may have come across her on Twitter a bit. She's head of XR at a company called Evenness. And this is part of the Women Tech Global Conference, which actually starts tomorrow and runs through to the 11th to 7th, 9, 10, to Friday. So I guess this will be one of the first events there. Regrettably, I screenshotted this poster, not realizing that it actually doesn't actually have the venue or a link for you to go to on it.
Ah.
I actually
Mm-hmm.
cropped off a bit at the bottom, which was sort of join now kind of things. I believe it is. I believe you have to join up and register, and I don't know whether it costs anything. But anyway, that is on Tuesday, and I'm not really familiar with her writing, but I'm very familiar with her name, so I imagine she's quite interesting. Also, coming up, this is a bit further away. Um, Roomkey, which is one of these on the web virtual worlds, starting on June the 22nd on Tuesdays, which is nice. I wouldn't advertise it if it was Sundays, but at noon Pacific, basically, 8 p.m. Here in the UK. Basically, a Being Virtual show with some chap called Bob Clooney, and this is actually season 2. I guess season 1 was a bit under the radar. And there was a little clip of this on YouTube, not a program, but a clip sort of thing. It looked rather interesting, despite the fact that very cartoony thing. So it's networking with leading VR innovators. So really, the idea of the show seems to be it's like a talk show with all the innovators in VR, not necessarily ones that are at Roomkey, but from all over the spectrum of virtual worlds, I guess. So, or per se. So anyway, thought I'd notify you of that little one. And oh, hang on. Oh yeah, this is in advance actually. Limited edition virtual festival. This is 5th, 24th of July, called Splendor Excel, and I think I've gone and done it again. I've got from I think. I think this is in Sansar here, but let me just have a quickie zoom in to see if there's something I haven't read. Oops. Uh, oh, right. No, this actually is being organised by a music festival people in Australia. I suddenly remember this now. And it is online. It's a virtual XR festival. Um, but Khalid on Saturday are pretty well known, but the Sunday headliners are a band called The Killers, who are very well known. I mean, I've actually got a DVD concert of theirs, so they're real life concert headliners. And so this really looks like a regular sort of festival lineup, as if you were going in the real world, except that lovely grass you're going to be lying in while you're listening to, full of mushrooms, is going to be virtual instead of real. But you can get tickets and info, as you can see at the bottom there, at splendorxr.com. So
Hmm.
SPLENDOURXR.com. And a little bit more on that. And while I've got the pictures up, I said these two actually, I think they were this week. I forget where it is. It's in Europe somewhere, but it's a city, and they've got this. They've made this sort of portal. It looks like one of our Stargate things. That's not an avatar, by the way. That's a real person standing there. And what you see on the other side of the portal is the real world too. A video system that allows people in one part of the city to talk to people in another part of the city. And of course, it's all been inspired by COVID, where you might be able to get outdoors now, but you might not be able to travel as far as the part of the city you want to talk to. So they're like giant sized webcams that you can dial up. The location, go to a portal yourself, and I presume if there's a lot of people trying to watch, there'll be a bit of an argument. But you just dial up the other portal in the city you want to actually watch. So there's a bit of the old Stargate thing coming here from, which was obviously gone from movies to virtual worlds, and now back to the real world again in a funny old way, really.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this one is just rather laughable. It's a curiosity thing because I think they're both illegal. Um, but the UK police went running to looking at the energy monitors, people using up ridiculous amounts of electricity and stuffing. They thought they'd uncovered a weed farm, but it's actually a Bitcoin mine.
Mm-hmm.
So beware Bitcoiners. The cops are going to think you're growing weed. And if you're in the UK, that is still illegal. In fact, even smoking it is. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was rather amusing. Just goes to show
Oh yeah.
they haven't really got any idea what they're chasing up. They know just chasing up stuff. Anyway, there we go. And I'm gonna put this back on the screen. This something later. For now, I'm putting that away. And I thought it was. Yes, there we are. And we're down to the little more feeds of the week. Now, the reason I told you earlier on that you can find me at twitter.com/malburns, Malburns, is where, by and large, you will find multiple links from me during the week. And the headlines I'm bringing you today, oh, yes, they are the headlines for the 6th of June, by the way. We're already in June. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, we didn't
These are
have
the
that
headlines
chat.
for the 6th of June, which is today as we're broadcasting it, as it were. And we always tend to start off a week in the past. May 31st, the last day of May, was the usual XR Wheat Peak roundup from the Scar Ghost. SKARREDGHOST.com. And basically, it's a roundup of all the stuff not only happened in this last week gone by, but it was actually the week before that. So anything really important here, I probably included on last week's show here. Oh dear, oh dear, I could pass on that one. I suppose maybe it's meant to be a joke, but this is just too serious to be a joke. The God Emperor gets a halo. Yeah, that should be the headline, shouldn't it? God Emperor gets halo. Goes to
That
see
would
Pope.
bring in readers, I think.
Goes to see Pope.
Yep.
Facebook's going to reveal something in September. Oh, I thought he was revealing stuff every bloody day. Never mind. abusive language about to ensue, so I better be careful. Anyway, you find this at scarghost.com. It's his roundup of the week before last, really. But it comes out every Monday. So basically, if you go to scarghost.com tomorrow, you will find exactly the same name, Exile Weepy, but with a different set of news, basically, up until today, like this show, really. So, there we are. So that was the first one of the week, as is usually the case. Now, I did mention that we have a feed at Twitter called twitter.com/MetaWorld News, or one word. And these are just two ones that I think, yeah, or did they? I think they came from there anyway. This is actually on a Second Life blog called the SLLinkWeiber. But it's a feature about Whiply, WIPLY, which is described as a social network for avatars. And basically, this is just somebody reporting on the service, and they're interviewing with the chap who runs it. It has been running. Well, I can't swear to this actually. There was an Avatar network running from Second Life for a long while, but I think it was separate from this. I think it sort of faded away. Um, but I mention it here mostly because whether or not you use Second Life is the sort of thing that might be useful if, say, you use OpenSim or another social world that's got avatar-based communications in it, because presumably you can log in as a member of this network, and you can multiple avatars, and a bit like Discord and things. I like these things that allow you to communicate across worlds, because without communication protocols between different platforms like Second Life, Samsung, Space, whatever, we tend to be relying on services that we can run side by side with the virtual world to allow us to communicate with the greater virtual world, and indeed the outside world. But who cares about that? Not. So outside world's not still not much fun these days. But the real world, so to speak, was definitely ceased to be fashionable about 18 months ago. So we're all virtual now, as they just say, really, don't they? Anyway, so you'll find this at SLLinkWeiber.com. Um, oh, God, let's see. SLENQUIRER.com. And also, one hates to actually break the bad news here, but nevertheless, it is news. And this news is at TechCrunch.com, TechCrunch.com. The God Emperor's platform is continuing with its sort of buying spree to, buy up the world, basically. And they have bought a robots-like creator gaming platform. Not bad avatars, I must say there. Um, the reason I say this is bad news, really, is because, it's yet another thing that is now owned by an evil monopolist, i.e., the God Emperor. Yeah, play. Um, yeah, more. It's Roblox. It's a game creation platform. So rather like Sansar here, or Science Space, and particularly like OpenSim or Second Life, really. Who started the idea, really, a platform for people to use, but also within which to create themselves a user-generated virtual world, for example. Now, actually, count, um, you know, uh, it's hard. It's not really a platform in itself, because it does build on top of the Unreal Engine, which, of course, is Epic's thing as opposed to Unity. But it does give simple creation interface, team with discovery and community features. I would add, I haven't had a chance to look at this, let alone compare it to Sciencebase, but I know that you can create things in Sciencebase these days using a micro um, set of Unity's tools. Unreal Engine, in their case, it's Unity. So you are getting user-created worlds, shall we say, that are beginning to give you access, if you want them, to some of the more high-end authoring engines, even if all they give you is actually a sort of a subset of ordered vast amount of features that you get in the high-end thing. A bit like if you're on an iPad, you can get sort of baby Photoshop or whatever it's called, which gives you all the blur filters, and it gives you the scaling and image correction and things, but a really small microsection of what's available in the full Photoshop program. So this seems to be a virtual world creation equivalent of that. Anyway, more when we find out about it. Although I've not particularly excited because I imagine I'll have to log into the dreaded Facebook to even get to it. There we go. That is life. So there we are. I'm going to remove these two items from my feed so that it's a bit more manageable. Move Scar goes too. Right, now before I go into any other text links, I'm going to scroll up to my top of my column here, and I'm going to look at some videos. Now, um, the first two are YouTube addresses. I'll give you in a second. If you're a regular watcher of this show, you'll actually know that I tend to have bookmarks for various new videos of the week that aren't mine. In other words, they're not Metaworld videos, but it's just like a playlist of sort of interesting things, and they don't always obey my finicky rules and no interfaces sharing and stuff. This is on conversation or interest, shall I say? But for one reason or another, I've been tooting them, not tweeting them, which means they're on my Mastodon sort of feed. Um, I haven't got them all done, but starting for most of this week, you're now going to find them on my Twitter feed too. But you're not going to find them as separate links. You're going to find them as a reposting from Mastodon, if you see what I mean. But it does actually mean that if I go to my own Twitter feed, for example, I've got both my video feed and my text link feed in one place. So if you are following me on twitter.com/Mal Burns, you'll now get they're these little small things that post to Mastodon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off now by quite literally starting there. Now the first two for this week aren't in Mastodon for technical reasons, but this is as usual the week in XR, dated the 4th of June. Charlie Fink and Ted Schilowitz have got some guests called Max and Kim. And if you don't know who Max and Kim are, well, it actually says here they're from the Adventure Lab. Yes.
Hmm.
Enjoy spirited banter about the week's spatial computing news with Paramount Pictures futurist Ted Schilowitz and Forbes Tech columnist Charlie. The guests this week are, well, Adventure Lab, of course. Um, to find this, you need to go to This Week in XR at YouTube, this space week space in XR YouTube, and of course you usefully subscribe to that. Starting next week, they'll actually appear in my Mastodon feed. This is one of only two that didn't get there this week, actually. So always a very good roundup every week. Um, it's much more geared to not the enterprise as such, but VR and peripherals and things like that. Enterprise XR, AR glasses. The Adventure Lab people are the people who make the AR glasses. Actually, that's the point. An interesting 30 minutes or so there, if you want it. And I do like scrolling ahead on some of these things, just to show you who's there, so to speak. Okay, I think they're adventure, but there we are. So there's Charlie and Ted, and these are the two guests for their smart glasses makers, so to speak. Anyway, not to dwell. Moving on to the VR download. Again, this was the early Monday or Tuesday edition. So it was before I set up the linking system from Mastodon to Twitter. But this is called the VR download, and it's the actual site, however. Whoops. Welcome to another episode. The actual site you found it at is called Upload VR, as opposed to Download VR. So the show is called VR Download, but the site is called the account is called Upload VR. Isn't that wonderfully confusing, folks. Yeah, I thought you'd like to know that.
I love it.
Okay.
Very symmetrical.
Yeah. Anyway, they describe it as a twice weekly show streamed live from virtual reality, but actually they seem to have renamed the Thursday, Friday edition. It's still at Upload VR, the site at YouTube here. But they don't call it VR download anymore. I think they call it Gamescast download or something. But they seem to be changing it to differentiate between the Monday edition, I guess. They are very separate things. The later in the week is more involved with um, sort of experiences and games and stuff like that in VR, whereas the early edition of the week, so to speak, a bit more like us, really, the conversation about the technical side of things stuff. So that's another good one for you. Very good. Right. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove that. And now I'm going to get on to the other ones. Right. Now, when you actually follow my Twitter feed, you're actually going to see something like this. Basically, this is the equivalent to Twitter, but at Metaworld at Mustard Social, where you find me here. And if you click through from Twitter, you will actually arrive at the post here rather than the actual film. You can always play the film in line like this, so you don't necessarily have to go to YouTube to open it up. And basically, it performs just as if you were in YouTube. The only problem is you haven't got quite, you can't have the cinema mode because that would be out of this interface. So you can always just click in like that, and it will immediately take you through to YouTube itself, where you can get cinema mode, and you can find out who the actual account belongs to. In this case, it's Between Realities. So it always distracts me trying to talk over the racket. I presume you can hear the racket. Actually, it's the audio coming through,
Yeah,
Dave.
there's
And
some little squawks and squeaks that come through, so I've bothered. I've stopped complaining about it.
oh, right. So people can't really hear it
You
anyway.
can't really hear it.
Okay,
No.
so it is a very peculiar thing. I'm talking to you on my microphone on my headset, and I'm leaning forward to the Mac speakers, so there's no reason you shouldn't hear it. Anyway, so since you're not getting too brilliant audio directly from me, we have no real need to continue with that. So I'm just going to go quickly through what is available this week, and you can find them if you know the address or at YouTube. Between Realities, anyway, that's an hour and a half of various chat, and their guest this week was somebody called Bobby Carlson. Um, from the Univirtual experience that happened last month, there's a video up of if you're interested, really, it's the closing celebration that happened on May the 30th in Alt Space VR. So it's basically just glorified party, really, but educators. So I've got again the VR chat show. Now, this was a Rec Room, which is another word of newer virtual worlds, fifth anniversary special, looking at the past, the present, and the future of Rec Room. And yeah, actually, this is actually quite interesting to watch. I can toggle it here. Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to know. Um, it's 1.5 hours, so it was quite a meaty one, that's actually,
Hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
easy enough to get to anyway, as we said. Moving on, this is the XR Creators Meetup, Pioneers number 6, and their guest was Chaos Princess, who you know here from Sansar. She also handles publicity for Tivoli, which is one of the original 3D high fidelity offshoots. And she's a pal of mine, really. We're always nattering to each other. She's based in Germany, which is nice, a fellow European on top of things. But anyway, it's nice to see that somebody had invited to a show to sort of have a natter with her. and can't actually scroll down far enough on this one. But it's XR Creators Meetup Pioneers, and there she was. Moving on to the next one here. Right, this is all night. Now this is AWE, Augmented Reality Expo. All the nights around the world, be it in Florence or Northern XR here, or there was one in another place in America during the week. They all end up on the all site, even though the all nights tend to be chapters, as they come from the meetups of the all people in different regions. Um, let's, I'm just going to pass through to this just to make sure. I think it's, oh no, okay. Now, I've just said the wrong thing actually. This actually is, you'll find out all night Northern XR. The full title of the account you need is OR, and then space dash, and then space augmented space world space expo. So whatever region does an all night, they all end up on this account. But the obviously the title is different depending on where they're coming from. Right. To no, I don't. I just need to overwrite it, don't I? I'm lost. No, I'm not. I found it again. I'm just going to you can't see, but behind the scenes, I'm just removing from my list here all the ones I've already shown you, which makes it an awful lot simpler at my end. Right. Okay. So that's all night from Northern XR, basically, just a meetup, but all kind of interesting stuff. Good that they film it. Okay. Um, Here we are. Oh, well, again, actually, in this case, Between Realities and their special guest, Bobby Carlton, season 3, episode 24. Not much more to say about that. I think I mentioned it a minute ago. Moving down to the next one. Um, right, this is a featured panel using digital games to build social and emotional learning. And yeah, I'm going to head through for this for you just to let you know where it appears from. This is not the other one. This is one that is still going on. It's the Immersive Learning Research Network. Their seventh conference is going on for about another weekend. But they have some chats. I know you can't hear it properly. So in fact, I might as well just mute it. But Immersive Learning Research Network, you can get to for this. And as I say, it's using digital games to build social and emotional learning. That's what they're discussing there. Okay, so click away on that, remove that one. Remove this one and the next one. This is a good quick way of doing my videos. This is working out far better than even I thought it would. Right, coffee and VR. Again, this is roughly every week. This is it's got a nice title. Talking about tons of new games and like, is this what VR needs? To be honest. I don't have that much time for this one unless I see something in the summary that is going to be of particular interest. They are more involved with looking at games and experiences, a bit like the later in the week version of Upload VR. But they do cover topics like here. There's a section on is this what VR needs discussion, and I forget what it is they're talking about there. I think it's actually a couple of things. Does VR really need this? So they do go off into a slightly more general direction from time to time. But it's not one of my top posts, as it were, recommendations, but it's still worth knowing about there. Um, okay, right. Moving on. And oh, actually, it looks like these two did go through after all. Despite what I said in the beginning of this section, okay. So we covered this one too. This is the week in XR, and that's Charlie and have those glasses people from Adventure Lab in the studio with them there. So it looks like the Mastodon feed actually caught up with the Twitter one after all. Now, another one of the latest Univirtual experience things from last month, as well as the closing party, um, was talking about our home, a family conversation on virtual schooling and XR, and featuring Keely Caniff. It's more of a it is a panel discussion. She's got Caitlin Krauss there and Cassandra Coomber, Dragoness. Oh, hang on, Angelina Dayton, Caitlin Craig. Oh, right, there's four people on the panel, one of whom is called Dragoness. I used to know Dragon Ash. There. Anyway, yes, so that's on there if you're interested in domestic side of schooling and teaching at home and stuff using VR. All right. Um, Down again. The last two of this week. This was very interesting. I mentioned this on last week's show because I've been hooked to it pretty much all the day when it was broadcast. But they were recording it and they've now actually posted the recording. It's the Stanford Exile conference. And what they've released here, actually one long take of the whole day. So it's 4 hours and it's
Hmm.
actually 4 hours and 40 minutes.
That sounds
So you're going to
familiar.
have to be in the mood. Yeah, you're going to have to be in the mood for this. Um, it's it's interesting, but what we have to go on here is they got timestamps on it. So if there's a particular bit in the 4.5 hours you want to actually find, like Jeremy Belson, you just scroll forward to 1 hour 14, for example, or Magic Leap there, and then panel building the metaverse. That was well, all those panels were very interesting. So like 1 hour 37. So in case you don't know how you do that, you actually go to this at YouTube, you scroll through and you just look at where the time is there, and you see that's 1 hour 37 there. And I don't think you can hear this anyway, but shame. Oops. Sorry. It's a shame you don't get the sound these days, but at least since I know you're not getting the sound, I'm not tempted to play it back for you and spoil your trip to the real thing. So anyway, long recording, but well worth having a look at. And even if you've only got an hour to spare or something, you can find you may be able to find some of the presentations that particularly interest you there, or some of the panels. Um, they've jumbled up the order here because there was a morning and afternoon sort of session, and these are actual timings on tape, so to speak. Um, but from what I remember, one of the panels was in the earlier part of the day and the later. So it's almost as though that panel may have been up here somewhere, and oh, you can't. So, anyway, it's all there. It's all there, so you can find it if you need it. And finally, in the department of videos for the week, um, we have language, culture, and heritage panel, immersive storytelling in virtual worlds for transcendence. And this is immersive IRN, which is immersive learning research network, which is something that's actually still going on. It started at the end last month and is running for probably another week or so this week. The emphasis is on researchers here rather than teachers, and sort of so it's education, but from a different, education's got a pretty wide berth, and researchers are the ones here. It's their 7th international conference. So no doubt by this time next week, we'll have a few other links to some of their panels that happen in the next few days. Um, so there you are. And these actually, as I say, these were links I've been linking on now do appear mixed amongst all the other stuff in my Twitter feed. There's simply the Mastodon link simply. It doesn't go up instantaneously, but about 2 hours after I post it on Mastodon, it arrives on Twitter. So you can just click through to these quick screens. It's very useful for me too, as well as you, by the look of it. Okay, so I'm now going to get back into our world of links and YouTube, as it were. Okay. So this is a site called getreview.co, GETREVUE.co, just co, not com, co. And it's an interview site called Metaplay. Yeah, for another. Well, this it doesn't. It's harmless enough, I suppose. Anyway, it's an interview with somebody called Sean Whiting, who's actually head of user acquisitions and marketing at Rec Room. We, of course, mentioned Rec Room as there's a video out from earlier as well. This is strictly speaking, it's an interview, and they chat about the challenges of Rec Rooms facing expansion beyond VR, how they're handling adding various things to the platform and the new creator compensation platform. And yeah, as you can see, as interviews go, it goes. And this is well laid out for like a big line between the questions and answers. So yeah, quite presentable there for HTML anyway. Right. So that is getreview.co, GETREVUE.co, that one. I don't need to go back to these because I'm deleting them as I go. Another new innovation this week at my end. Right. ARPost.co again. So ARPOST.co. And this is the future of Exile's remote events, the new normal. Yeah. Now, this is going to be an ongoing question, really. I mean, we have got used to talking about Exile and immersion online and stuff, and it's been a boon for many operators whilst we've been in lockdown. Whether we really should be out of lockdown is at the moment fully is I'm not really sure, but nevertheless, certainly in the UK here, they're beginning to sort of plan events in the outside world. They may live to regret it, but we will see. Um, but they've also during this time, people have begun thinking about remote events combining Excel. Now we're not always talking about using Excel on your computer to attend a remote event, but also remote events being things out of the house, so to speak, that incorporate virtual reality. Bit of confusion there, really. I tend to think of remote events as being ones online still, but obviously there's a bit of a wide thing there. So looking at the return of real events, etc., etc., and well, looking at the future there really goes. Right, okay, I'm going to move on. Gonna, I've got a dry mouth. That one, right? The next one, here we are. Okay, this is a bit interesting. Semi-autonomous avatars in the metaverse. Well, they've had to put the word metaverse in there, haven't they? Understanding the concept helps to puncture some common myths about how the metaverse will operate. Yeah, whose metaverse is that? Answer that question. Forever my question now. Whose metaverse? There's only one metaverse. It's not plural, but when I ask whose, which of the people trying to grab the metaverse is responsible for this one? Anyway, okay, I'm just looking at the. Okay, this is the camera pulls back. Your character is walking out of a store and is waving goodbye to somebody off camera. When the camera slowly moves into a new position, hovering just above and behind that person, locking itself into third-person game position. It's a powerful illusion. First, that the game world was persistent, and you might have logged off. Life in Los Santos, example here, went on without you. That and second, that your avatar also lives a life of its own when you're not around. Now, this is actually quite fascinating. Um, my best examples will always be, I think, not only Sansar here, but Second Life, OpenSim, Time Space. When we log out, we log out. There was I think it was in, I forget whether it's Ready Player One or Snow Crash, one of them. When you log out, your avatar remains in the world but goes to sleep. In other words, it sits on a bed and falls asleep. Um, so that depicted a future where the avatars are persistent. There've also been other science fiction things where the avatar is persistent in the sense that it's attached geographically to wherever you are in the real world. Even if you are sleeping or something, it would show you being present on a map in your real world home asleep. But also, if you're out shopping, it will follow you like a Google Earth thing and show where you are in the real world. So, idea that the avatar can be connected to you even if you're offline has already been explored. But this article is the idea that your avatar can take on a life of its own, so that when you log out, what would happen if the game engine continued to take over operating your avatar, even though you weren't there? And that when you log back in, you would log back in and do, "Oh, what the hell have I been doing?" you know, it sometimes happens in Second Life when there's no the sim you were last in is full or something, and they send you to a newbie lost place. But it's yeah. If the game world was persistent, you might have logged off, but life went on without you and lives life that you own when not around. Sometimes you log back in and your avatar is coming out of a movie theater or cruising women on the streets or exiting a convenience store. It snaps back into place and you now re-inhabit the game character. You've taken over the controls. But all this is rather fascinating. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article for you. That's why I'm tweeted it, so to speak. It's a very interesting sort of article to read because it talks about Grand Theft Auto and the character called Franklin, but I mean it's a general article, about avatars with a mind of their or life of their own, maybe not a mind of their own. So fascinating stuff, really. Now, the place you actually find it, the early you need to get to this is equally confusing. Um, it's called outofscope.bureau of brightideas.com. Oh, I love this. Right, okay, folks, just find it on my Twitter feed. We'll try though. OUTOFSCOPE dot BUROUFBRIGHTIDEAS.com. That's the easy bit, isn't it? So that is out of scope dot Bureau of Bright Ideas.com. Well, the less L's that are like that, the better. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just, yeah, I prefer to read out a T colon a long number than that one. Right, okay, anyway, the trouble is, it's a very interesting article, so really, folks, do try and dig it up if you can. Okay, moving on. It's a good old Forbes. Three things at Forbes this week. Earlier in the week, of course, first off the hook, Tuesday, I guess, was Kathy Hackey's Metaverse Weekly. She looks at virtual Gucci, pursues digital people, direct to avatar ecosystem, Nerf, NFTs, and beyond. And yeah, that's a handful, isn't it? What happened
Yeah.
this week in the metaverse? That is a bit easy, though. Here again, I don't know what they're talking about most of these places now because they're talking about this strange thing called the metaverse, which apparently is not what I know about at all. Anyway, so yeah, digital Gucci bags. Yes. Let me see. 4,115 US dollars in real world money or a Gucci bag in Roblox. Was it is that Robux or it's meant to be Roblox? Sorry. Oh no, Robux is the virtual currency of Roblox. Oh, that's clever. Bucks. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it now. Robux from Roblox. what will we get? I wonder what God Emperor's got in mind. Facebucks? Actually, that would rhyme with the.
Hmm.
Never mind. Right. Okay. Human OS 2, next generation of digital people. VR ARA. We've covered some of the stuff from that summit last week, actually. Let me see. The NFT stuff. I don't really take much interest in that, though I probably should. Uh, let's see. Museum of Crypto Art. They're going to have tokens too, some in space metaverse. Um, right, there's an interesting one coming up in immediately. These NFTs and stuff are really art galleries and artists and things are really latching onto it. Um, is it art or is it trash? Where if it's an NFT, it's non-fungible trash. Ah, sorry.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Naughty me, naughty me. Anyway, find that at Forbes.com, Forbes.com, and we'll be back there in a minute too. Um, this is a site ksat.com. That's the letter K, as in got you there, didn't I? It's a K, not a C. SAT, KSAT.com. And interesting question there. Can virtual reality help seniors? Um, study hopes to find out. I like it. Or maybe I'm a senior, and if I'm feeling jaded, maybe it means that virtual reality creates seniors.
Hmm.
No, that doesn't that play out at all, does it?
Sounds very
Never mind. Never
philosophical.
mind.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, far too much so. Anyway, more mention of Stanford's Virtual Human Interaction Lab here, working with John Knox's 1,200 residents, basically, who are, well, seniors. And they're going to do some research, aren't they? Um, this is really a roundup of what they're going to be doing. There's no invite here for you to take part or anything. It's just simply what the study is going to be trying to do and find out. So find that one at ksat.com, KSAT .com. Moving on here, this is the New York Times.com, NYTIMES.com. And to stem suicide and sexual assault, the Air Force dons headsets. Yeah, well, good on them. Sad that they have problems with suicide and sexual assault. Really, I mean, a closed community like the Air Force. I mean, obviously they've got their own military police and things, but you know, it's one thing that bad stuff happens in the outside world, but when it actually happens in, well, not quite a small community, but you know what I mean. Problem. But anyway, apparently, sort of educating airmen and how to intervene in things. So apparently, traditional training has failed. So they're hoping immersive virtuality will actually help. Um, yeah, I suppose it's back down to the thing of sort of increasing empathy
Hmm.
and also just on the mechanical level, practicing intervention. So if one airman sees another airman using another airman or something, instead of walking away and seeing it as the norm, especially if rank is concerned, the idea is the virtuality experience would give people a fictional, you know, question to answer. Do you intervene, and if so, how? And you play through that scenario using VR, of course. Um, but the military Air, Air Force Army, they're not really new to VR at all. This is just another thing they're using VR for. I mean, in the terms of the Air Force, the first thing they ever did was well, it wasn't exactly Microsoft Flight Simulator, but they've had flight simulators since the 70s, so it's not as though VR is new to them. It may be what is surprising is it's taken them this long to actually use VR to address problems like this. However, I'm not an American, let alone an airman. So moving on. Yeah, that's the last one was NewYorkTimes.com. So NYTIMES.com. This one is VRScout.com, VRSCOUT.com. And this VR tool, yeah, knows what you're thinking before you do. Now, it's beginning. We got avatars that misbehave themselves while we're asleep or logged out. And now we got
Sounds
things
about
that,
right, right?
eh, yeah, and now we've got things that can tell us what we're about to think before we do.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, golly, it's absurd. Anyway, this is from Theia, Theia Interactive. It's a new VR tool that takes the guesswork out of designing products and campaigns. I think this is related to another one I had up last week. It wasn't quite the same, but it was sort of, it had two screens and it was creating um, like an AR object character. Um, Anyway, let's see. Kellogg's returned to VR and eye tracking to better market their Pop Tart bites. Things they're using VR. Somebody should get them out of business for even Pop Tart bites. Indeed, that's just the kind of junk that we don't want anybody eating. Right. Okay. This gave valuable insights on how customers gaze at the shop shelves in stores. Um, this one from Thea. Okay, eye tracking and biometric sensors too, to determine how you're feeling by recording your physical actions while in VR. It's turning out so efficient, in fact, that the system knows what you're feeling before you do. So basically, Thea Interactive of their visualization firm, and they're launching a brand new set of tools called Claria, CLARIA, which incorporates both eye tracking technology and biometric sensors. And it tracks six key responses: heart rate variables, cognitive load, eye vector, pupil, pilometry, and oh my God, saccades. I don't know what they're. The rapid movement of the eye between fixation points, otherwise referred to as saccades. Well, very interesting. Okay, so all you boffins out there, it looks like you got a bit to read on this one, eh? Fascinating, fascinating. I imagine if I drove a car, you're hands free, you get, robotic drivers now. They're going to be legal within a year here in Britain. Um, I suppose if they're monitoring everything and can compute variables before you can, um, it's all for the better. I never feel comfortable with it. I wouldn't mind the idea of a driverless train so much, where it's on the track and all the input is very restricted. It's not going to swerve or whatever. Um, the computer, basically, the robot just drives the train forward and to a stop wherever it has to stop. But in a car where we're used to humans driving and too many other humans swerving in front of us and all that sort of stuff, I don't know how I trust automation to actually confront the behaviors of other humans, to be honest. Anyway, pardon me, cough, cough. This post, vrscout.com. So that's VRSCOUT .com. And let's just do a bit of cleaning up at my end here. And we move on to the next one, which is the scarredghost.com. Now, unfortunately, some of our sound effects are not playing this week. I did mention at the top of the show we're having a few audio problems. So this is scarredghost.com, the same place we have the XR week in the peak week in the peak. I forgot. Peaking in
Week
review. I
peak.
don't know.
Week peak.
Wheat peak, isn't it? Yeah. The most important AR and VR news from F8 Refresh. Now, F8 Refresh was an event, and earlier in the week, Scargo's published a roundup of the most important news from it. So you find this at scarghost.com, SKERREDGHOST.com. And you can't stop him writing really. So we're getting quite a big roundup here. He says it was a minor event, but still seems to have found plenty of being talk about it. Oh, I love that one. Zook being Zook at the conference. I this must have been very hard for poor old Scar Ghost. I know he's no fan of Facebook, but he still had to attend F8 Refresh. Anyway, the event went on, but it was all about marketing and social media and all this boring stuff. Only moment when somebody spoke about AR was during a session about new updates to Spark AR. A Facebook executive talked about the vision of an MR future and the fact that Facebook is working on AR glasses, but the present is AR filters like the ones created with Spark AR, blah, blah, blah. It's not as long as it might be. Right, okay. Well, if you want to round up with that, just go to scarghost.com. Let's just say be missing a view, but you won't be missing much by missing that. If you see what I mean. Good though his article is, as always, of course. Right. Okay, remove that item too. Right, we're back to arpost.co, arpost.co. And they're talking about an extended reality study which is showing a bright future for immersive technology in Europe. I read these things now, and it's the European XR industry has grown steadily over the past few years, adding more companies, employees, and value. And it's been predicted Europe will be a leading force in XR development. Trouble is, I'm British, and I don't know whether I'm European or not anymore when it comes to a lot of these things. What was interesting is our Chancellor of the Exchequer, ahead of a G8 meeting, I think it's next week, the finance ministers all got together, Britain, this week. And our Chancellor was putting forward a global tax rate to tax people like Google, Facebook, and whatever. The idea being that countries would agree to the amount of tax those called big tech giants pay, and that would stop countries, admittedly like the Republic of Ireland, offering such low tax rates that they officially get people coming to operate in their country and sort of they still pay taxes, but not nearly as much. But it means that the countries don't benefit because the big tech companies go and base themselves wherever the taxes are lowest. And surprisingly, given that our chancellor is no longer part of Europe, for one thing, America was there too. Apparently, they all bloody agreed.
Yep.
Now, this does not happen very often at all. I mean, really, really, there'll be the G8 meeting in a week or two. When it comes to the environment, I don't think they'll pretend to agree and stuff like that. But apparently, there was a really firm commitment. And apparently, at the moment, it's going to stand as it's going to be a minimum of 15% levy for the big tech companies wherever they're based. And they also, of course, have to pay multiple times if you. I don't know enough about how they actually claim on global profits, but they basically if Apple are operating their European thing out of Ireland, they should be paying that rate to the host country where they're operating from, and it should be high enough that Apple aren't tempted to stay there just because it's the cheapest place, if you see what I mean. Anyway, we have. What would this show be without a little rabbit hole moment? New extended reality study. It's a bright future for immersive technology in Europe. Now, I think it's fairly bright for Britain too, because most of this sort of stuff, can't be sure about investment and stuff, but most of these operations and the field itself, as it were, has not been affected overly by COVID and lockdown and stuff. And certainly on the tech front, there still seems to be a reasonable amount of people choosing to invest here. as opposed to some of the other markets like Amsterdam or obviously. We'll see anyway. But this is new developments, and they do identify London, Paris, Berlin, Amsterdam, and Zurich as the main XR hubs. So they have actually included Britain when they include London. So all is not. Oh, oops. All is not yet lost. Anyway, this is arpost.co, AR Post Co for this one. And moving down a bit more. Right, this week in XR. Right. Now, we're back at Forbes again. Despite the similarity to the video that Charlie does too, this is his late in the week, as it were, post over at Forbes. And quite literally, the last day or two for this one. On-site remote assistant has raised money. Air Force simulation has been mentioned again. Avatar have raised money for remote inspection and meeting platforms, etc. And even Charlie agrees that Facebook's F8 refresh conference was underwhelming. And he actually quotes Tony Scarghost there. Okay, wonderful. Oh dear, there we are. God Emperor, your developer conference was underwhelming, and that is now official. Come on, Marky, underwhelm us a bit more, will you? You might go away then. Right, right. Apple Developers Conference begins tomorrow, by the way, of course, June 7th. They usually bury an Easter egg or two in the invitation. XR pundits swear the glasses mean something. Apparently, if you got the invitation, there are some glasses sort of in it somewhere, and people are getting is anyway. The keynote's at 10 in the morning Pacific time tomorrow, so I should be checking that out when it happened. Advertising Week in XR podcast. Oh, as well as the video version at YouTube, you can also get an audio version of that via Spotify and iTunes. By the way, he's been advertising that recently. And Zappa's got a mobile AR platform, whatever. Always a lot of news these days, which I find rather sad. I mean, you're obviously getting venture capital and stuff like that is a good thing, but when all the main news is about companies and people you never heard of raising billions of US dollars in venture capital, I keep thinking, how many of them will spend the venture capital and then not be around in a year or two's time? We will see anyway. So this is Charlie's thing at Forbes.com. Moving on to another very familiar site, of course, voicesofvr.com. This is the only one, as far as I know, this week of Kent Byers' podcasts. Quite a complex one, too. 994. It's a neuro rights initiative, a human rights approach to preserving mental privacy. So it's only touching really, it's an online issue much more than a specific thing to do with virtual reality or virtual worlds or anything like that. But interesting nonetheless, if you can plow through something that is so technical, really. Um, uh, he also talks about with neuro rights. He's actually talking about non-invasive neural interfaces and the ethical considerations of that. He did last week, if you remember, have an interview with somebody else, which was based on ethics, stuff like that. So he's really summarizing this stuff too. Nice little graphic there. This is a sort of, should I say, campaign in this regard too. Rightly so, I think, really. Human rights for the age of neurotechnology. Anyway, so voicesofvr.com is what you want for that. VOICESOFVR.com and another 994. Remember, you get all these links at Twitter, com/Malburns. You'll find all these and more and more. I hasten to add that there's a lot more links in my feed than I possibly have time to actually cover on this show. Talking of podcasts, this is a podcast called The Agile World, THEAGILE.WORLD. So world is the suffix there. And yeah, no, go away. I don't want. Doesn't work in reader mode, this, but here is the actual podcast. I don't know what they normally have there. I mean, Agile, there's a load of, even Linden, a lot of companies use this Agile system of something or other. The time I don't hear so much about it now, but anyway. But this actually was simply an interview, and it was an interview with Kathy Hackey. She's from the Future Intelligence Group, but also if you follow XR stuff on YouTube or whatever, she's very prominent there. And yeah, it's only 20 minutes, so it's not a long thing. But to get to it, you want to go to the Agile, or one word, then dot world. Sorry, WORLD. Yeah. You can also find it, of course, on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Audible, etc., etc. But not one would find easily. That popped up and quite interesting, so put it here. Right. Moving on back to the written stuff and back in, yeah, once again we're back at Forbes. Now this is another just published article at Forbes by somebody called Bernard Marr. Future predictions of how virtual reality and augmented reality will reshape our lives. Very much an essay type post this. The revolution is underway, and it's easy to envisage a future in which the lines between the real world and the virtual world become even more blurred than they are today, and so on and so forth. Read there. And it's actually an extract or summarized from a book. The author here has a book called Extended Reality in Practice, which is obviously keen for you to read too, which is why he always mentions this at the bottom of the article. See? Nah. Never mind. Right, move that one. Moving on. No, this one's interesting. This is SciPost. We've been here before. Sci as in psychology, I think, rather than physics. PSYPOST.org. Maybe it's the mention of the word pornography, and I'm not even sure what that means these days. It was enough to get a lot of reposts, put it that way. Virtual reality pornography heightens feelings of intimacy and attributions of intelligence. Well, it's not surprising. Obviously, somebody had to go and research it, and in fact, there is, as we can find out here, a journal of sex research. There we are. There's even a link to them if you want to go there. Go to this, if you see what I mean. I'm not going to click that for you because I could, but I'm not going to. Right. But anyway, it's a study, and to be honest, well, part of VR porn is the empathy machine, a perception of self and others in virtual reality pornography. And there's 5 of them. 2 of them were 2 women, 2 men, and who knows what Pierre Bricken is. Right, okay, so they have fun, I presume. Interesting research. Or maybe I'm misreading this completely. Anyway, but it's not surprising though. We talk about virtual worlds, even 2D worlds on screen as an empathy machine. That sense of presence and stuff goes a long way towards empathy, and it's often the things that are missing from encounters that actually, you're so used to taking in all sorts of things about somebody you meet, but when you meet them virtually, you sometimes take in less, but you take in some of the important things more. Some of the trivial things like the aesthetic appearance of somebody is less important. You get to know them much better, because the surface is irrelevant. It's just an avatar or something, but you so you see through them to what's underneath a lot quicker, including abuse and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. This is presumably researching with headsets. So you're talking about two people meeting in headsets, and I don't know, maybe even wearing haptic technology, and to what extent, on what parts of the body, etc. I don't know, but anyway, it's the test. Right, the experiment tested the effect among a sample of 50 heterosexual men between 18 and 60, and they did it by showing them films. So they didn't even include women, actual women, in the research. I don't really know that I should approve of this. Come on. Very male focused idea of it's so much of history until recent decades, as you know, the pornography has been considered a male occupation, despite the fact that, well, obviously there's female participants in films and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, find that at signpost.org, psypost.org, and leave you to consider that. Okay, now this is at the Electronic Frontier, EFF.org, FF.org. Your avatar is you, however you see yourself, and you should control your experience and your data.
Hmm.
It's the Electronic Foundation, really, are the holders of upholding democracy and standards in the online world, really. They're not sort of moral campaigners or anything like that. They're just, you know, um, guardians of the space, so to speak. Um, okay, they go through different types of customization, from crude to sophisticated, social presence, telepresence. Um, Never heard this one before. It's a God Emperor job. Right. In order to deliver what Facebook envisaged for an authentic social connection in virtual reality, you have to pass the mother test. Your mother has to love your avatar before the two of you feel comfortable interacting as you would in real life. The director of research at Facebook Reality Labs put
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I I don't go with that. I disagree with that. I mean, if the mother and the child is both familiar with virtuality and avatars, and you know, some people have, you know, fantasy avatars, that's realistic. I mean, you know what it's about. So if you choose to meet your mother in Second Life or something, you know, she can be a dragon and you can be a little mouse. And I don't think that would stop you talking over in Second Life. But mind you, your mother might be in the next room, so why bother? You know. Okay. We'd like to hope your mother would love whatever avatar you make. So Facebook seems to mean the codec avatars are striving to be indistinguishable from their human counterparts, a picture perfect representation of the sender's likeness that has unique qualities that make you instantly recognizable. To be captured by a full body scan and animated by egocentric surveillance. Oh, God. Yeah, yeah, anything. You should just subscribe to everything and anything that comes out of the Electronic Frontier, um, people. Yeah, you know, I mean, there's stuff in there that you know, I talk about this. There's a lot you might, you know, get in a conversation and get me on the panel or something. And there's things here I wouldn't have immediately thought of. And suddenly now I've read them, I think, oh, God, that's part of the whole equation too, you know. Yeah, excellent. Read this, and as you can see, a lot of it, basically. So you'll find it at eff.org, and I imagine the actual page. Hopefully, you can find from the top page. But obviously, go to Twitter and follow my links, and you'll get to these Zap pages, these things. Okay. Next, we come to a site called The Drum, as in drumming, musicians who, you know, the kind of musicians who have lots of things they hit on while the other musicians play music. So, So I
Not
haven't
a
got an
fan of
audience to
drummers,
laugh at me.
huh?
I haven't got an audience to laugh at me today. So
No.
I don't even know whether my jokes are being lost or not. Oh well,
It's in the ear of the beholder.
yeah, yeah, that's a polite way of putting it, isn't it? No, it
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't remotely funny, except to me. Okay, virtual reality is not funny. That is, but
Well,
is.
I like
Well,
drummers, so
good.
I didn't.
Yeah, so do I. So do I.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
I didn't actually. No, I would be a drummer if I had a drum kit.
Oh, okay.
In my youth, I used to hit everything in sight. Couldn't play instruments, but I knew how to keep rhythm going. Or with the
Yeah, yeah,
bongos or something like that. I was pretty pretty good with that stuff actually.
yeah, yeah.
No, I haven't. I know it's a cliche to mock the drummers, isn't it? But no, I I was just trying to be humorous without actually. There wasn't meant to be any actual real message in that.
Ah,
So don't
very,
don't
very
get me
good.
wrong.
All right.
I know I love you. Of course I love you. I don't know how many drummers I know actually. Oh, I know one at least. But anyway, yeah. If you know me and you're a drummer, don't take that the wrong way. Right. Um, anyway, yes, I was getting a tongue twister here. Virtual reality is, finally, the new reality. And marketers can tap into the communities built around gaming. Um, yeah, um, they're referring to gaming, but they're also VR too. Gaming is changing everything as it becomes further embedded in the mainstream culture. And basically, gamers spending 7+ hours a week gaming. No denying this has transcended group status. They're spending a lot of money too. It's a massive borderless society that's rapidly growing. Society that must be understood to be served and for brands to see long-term value from joining in. I think they've got that pretty right there, though. I hate to find myself reading all about how brands can move into virtual reality and stuff. Although, of course, back in the day, they did that in Second Life and without understanding what they were doing. I think this thing of the massive border that society rapidly growing is actually spot on, because that actually is the idea of the metaverse. Although, of course, they go on to talk about branding and stuff like that. They're obviously going to be talking about different platforms where you can, see the long-term value joining in. They're right to say that generations of people who've grown up with gaming are actually a good thing for the metaverse, as the overarching thing I would see, because some of the metaphors to do with navigation and interfacing and language even are actually very commonplace and sort of people who are in virtual worlds, for example, he knows what even from chat rooms they know OL and RFOL and all those little anecdotes. They know what they mean, sort of, or if they don't, they find out pretty quickly. So there's a commonality there, and that commonality extends from gaming to actual just social virtual worlds. Now, people who game end up forming social cliques within their games and their worlds. Other people go to virtual worlds and don't really play games, but occasionally might just come across a little game somewhere in Second Life and think, "Oh, that'd be fun to play." You can even sit down with a friend and play a game of chess inside Second Life. It's I think, well, why not just do it via Skype or just an open chess game computer? But it's actually more fun when you're doing it in somewhere like Second Life. You play your opponent and you move your pieces and they move their pieces and somebody goes checkmate in the end and all that stuff. But maybe you start on your own and by the time you finish, 20 people are sitting there watching you. They've just casually come along and think, oh, God, this is an exciting game. You've ever been down in, I know in New York City and some places in London here, there's whole areas where people sit outside playing chess.
Hmm.
And sometimes they're just on their own with, partners. They're not necessarily even friends. They're just people who randomly pick partners. But other times, if the game's exciting, people start congregating, and, when you've got two good players, you suddenly get an audience thing there, and of course you can get that in a virtual space too that uh, you won't get if you just got a board on your screen and a friend in the other end of the world's got it on their screen. So you're getting the excitement. So anyway, the minor app is holding there. Um, this is another. This is just another article that is worth reading. It's probably of particular note if you're interested in any economic intervention or application of virtual reality, I suppose. And again, well, they seem to assume that virtual reality is headset reality, but I mean, the article itself is uh, not the case. And they do mention Twitch and Discord too being used as sort of, as I call them, sort of, side apps to the actual wheels themselves. Anyway, you find out the drum.com, THEDRUM.com. And moving on from that one, we get to waiting for this one. It was I thought it was earlier in the week. Okay, this I've actually seen this published somewhere else too, but this is where it originates. It's actually at Goldsmiths College here in London. GL GOLD .ac.uk. So that's gold.ac.uk. And I think even the Guardian did a piece when basically this article came out, and other people have quoted it a bit since. Um, okay, Goldsmiths London have published two different studies in a journal called The Frontiers in Virtual Reality. There's a link there if you come to this page. It's the first study. In the first study, a Confederate working with the research team posed as a recruited participant, interacted with a genuine participant, while in the second, two recruited participants acted. Um, so in one, it was set up and planned for both parties. In the other one, only one party knew what was going on, so to speak. And the whole idea really was to study, sort of mistrust. I'm one of those people. I always thought everybody's like this, but I'm not sure they are. Um, I usually know from looking at somebody's face and in their eyes, particularly in real life, that is, whether I can trust someone. Shiftiness and things give away things, right? Now, if I'm in a headset with full body motion stuff, I presume a lot of those telltale signals will come through. But when you're in a simple virtual world like Second Life, where it's all on screen and you're not controlling your avatar via motion capture, you're literally controlling it with arrow keys or a mouse, or you're making it work the way you want it to. Whereas when you're in motion capture in a bodysuit, imagine you've got a twitch, you know. Now, you don't like that being seen on video, but as a rule, that won't be picked up in a, a full motion capture suit because it's a very small little thing, like a twitch. I mean, tick, I think is the word they really use. Um, but if you've got something more specific, like if you're the sort of person that's got something to hide, and when you're in a conversation, you probably don't know it, but the person you're in a conversation with does. You're a bit shifty. You turn away when you're telling a lie. You don't really look them in the eye and stuff like that. Um, Now the person on the other end can probably perceive that, and in a motion capture suit, you probably these are things you probably do subconsciously. They might be able to detect that, but in somewhere like Second Life or flat screen world where that person is literally using their arrow keys to move towards you and turn sideways and say, come this way and come that way. Really, all you have to go on is the tone of, tenure of the voice. There's nothing in the avatar's body attributes really that actually give away whether they're trustworthy or not. And when you're just on voice, I mean, this is like people who groom other people, just using a telephone. Somebody rings you up, it's a mistake maybe, but then they get a bit chatty and you'll get chatty too, and you think, oh, this is a great person. And then, especially when you've got young, lonely kids, who get groomed this way, then before you know it, they're your new best friend on voice, and then eventually, they start moving to meet you and who knows what. So um, what can I say? This is looking at virtual body language and whether it gives untrusted avatars away. I think the idea here is that when there's nothing to hide, consistency, whether both users are using the same type of avatar, is what matters most, they think. Okay, similarity of avatars and representation was seen to be a fairly good thing. In other words, let's say two avatars meet and they're both a variation of I don't know a fox. Yeah. Um, they get on and meet because they're both chosen to be foxes. They can probably both trust the other one because they can communicate on a level where they're both the kind of people that chose sort of avatar, if you see what I mean. So think alike, think alike. But of course, that doesn't explain where one is a fox and another one is a normal human being, but in full body armor, looking like a Darth Vader soldier or something. It's a wide open world. I don't, the answer at the end of the day, you just can't trust anybody for sure. You always have to take these risks. So you're really looking for telltale signs and do their best here to pin down some things. But I personally don't think at the end of the day, even with full body 3D headset virtuality and full body capture, um, I don't think there'll ever be a totally certain way of detecting, initially at least, trustworthy avatars or trustworthy people. I mean, look at the number of people that get married and divorced within about a year because they couldn't trust their husband or whatever, or wife or however. So go figure anyway. But that's an easy link if you want to read about it. gold.ac.uk for that one. And yeah. Now I'm returning to the sort of top of the show here. In memoriam for Ebby Altberg. As I mentioned, the CEO of Linden Labs has passed away. It doesn't seem, Patch Linden, um, who is actually the CEO of Second Life, so Linden Lab, actually posted at Linden Lab, and there's a link here to post from Patch Linden. And then this actual blog is Inara Pay's blog. So she's obviously added her stuff, whatever. And I'd imagine she's updated it, comments and stuff like that. Probably a good place to uh, hang on. Oh, a typo there. Sorry, I shouldn't do that. Okay, so find out more about that. Very sad, obviously. You've got posts at Linden Labs site and Inara Pay's blog here. Her blog is modemworld.me, MODEMWORLD.me, and she's one of she publishes one or two blog posts every day about destinations and arts in Second Life, which is my only real interest with Second Life. So she's really my top blogger on that front. So she always does a good job on addressing some of these things, and she's well connected. She knows a lot about what goes on behind the scenes too. So as I said, modemworld.me for that one. And talking about commerce, I don't think anybody in the world doesn't know the name Sotheby's. um, they're really the epitome of the auction house, the art sales, 277 years old British auction house, was launching a digital replica of its Bond Street galleries in the metaverse, blah blah, using the platform Decentraland, which of course is one of the main of the new wave ones that use blockchain and non-fungible trinkets and stuff. When it comes to institutions like this, I'm used to the small, if there's a new thing with artists to promote themselves, it's usually a few freelance artists at first, then the smaller galleries, then the medium-sized galleries or whatever. And the last to actually latch onto these things is normally the big monoliths. I must say, I did a double take sort of thing when I read this article, because I wouldn't have thought of Sotheby's as being so far ahead in the game to figure out what's going on here. But clearly, they see value in it. Now, the auction house is, in Decentraland is a destination for artists, collectors, and viewers to engage. Doesn't really say anything about selling, although in the real world, you can actually they've solved some artists' work with non-fungible tokening business. 16.8 million US dollars during April. It seems that a lot of people are splashing out a lot of money with their non-figure outable trash. I have to, sometimes I can't take it seriously. Sometimes I have to, because if there's obviously something big going on when people are getting into this. And I know Bitcoins and stuff are accepted by major, real high street banks and things now. So that's sort of changed. I don't know. I mean, presumably it's only a matter of time before banks start being NFTs for you. I mean, after all, some of them are pretty damn valuable. Can you put this NFT in your safe? Well, yes, if you give it me, sir. It doesn't exist. How can I give it you? Well, if you give us your iPhone, sir, it's probably in there somewhere. Oh, yeah, I don't know. It just seems to me an awful lot at the moment. Anyway, this actual report about Sotheby's, you'll find it at yahoo.com. It's actually financeyahoo.com. So FINANCE dot YAHOO.com. And presumably that would be there for as long as Yahoo remains alive. Right. Moving on. Oh, this one's sweet. And this is not going to work in the README thing. This is Lewis Carroll's Logical Garden. Yep. Now, Lewis Carroll, for those of you who don't know, is the chap who wrote Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass and that wonderful stuff. Yeah.
And coined the term rabbit hole.
Yes, exactly. Hang on, I've got to temporarily at least allow this site to use my microphone. The site I'm going to is hubs, that's HUBS, dot sciencevr, or one word, SCIENCEVR.com. So hubs.sciencevr.com. And anyway, this is Lewis Carroll's Logical Garden. Now, I can't scroll here. Because as you can see, it is a 3D kind of world. I basically have to click start, and I'm just going to accept some stupid avatar, and I'm going to give it my permissions, and enter now, and here we are, and now I'm in here. I can move around. Yeah. So I don't know what this is authored with.
Mozilla Hubs.
Oh, it is. I wondered about that because of the address.
Yep.
Where you're
and I recognize the avatar and the space. Yep.
Ah, okay. Anyway, it was great fun. I mean, if you like Alice in Wonderland and stuff like that, there's basically 24 riddles buried in here that you have to sort of explore. I'm using my arrow keys to move. It says to use the W whatever keys, but it works with arrows. And you can pan around. The left mouse button, right mouse button does nothing. either just the middle, right, middle. So it's all down to your running around with your left mouse button, moving forwards or sideways with the arrow keys. But as I say, we get to there. Mouse bit. Shouldn't be doing this on air. I've only got half my faculties working. Right. So welcome to Logical. You've entered the realm of wonder and delight and celebrating the nonsensical mind of Lewis Carroll. You have to call to adventure that invites you to explore several paths. Try a bite of case, sip a cordial, see what happens. Go to a treasure hunt, discover, authenticate, and collect texts that inspire Lewis Carroll to write his famous books. Solve the logic puzzles hidden in the labyrinth. And what do you want to choose first? And I'm not going to play it. I'm not. This isn't a Twitch show where I'm going to play a game with you. But I thought this is rather nice. It's semi-serious and from Lewis Carroll. There's a historical context here, there's a literary context, and so general fun, and it's very easy to get to and just do stuff on screen. Whether this can actually work as a 3D thing, I don't know. Hubs don't normally. Oh, actually, no. Would this work in a headset, James?
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Yes, the hubs. Yeah. Yeah. So you've got something there that will work both ways, I
Yep.
guess. So jolly good there. Okay, so a bit complex to display that one, but it seems to actually can't even see my monitor anymore. I presume it displayed in well for you
It looked
fairly
great.
easily.
Yep.
Right, and moving on. Yeah. Um, Fortunately, it's stolen my mouse. Okay. When you're in an interface which takes over the control of your mouse and you can't get your mouse to come out of the window.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, we got there in the end, thanks to the taskbar. Right, okay, and two more to go, the last two here. This is a site called coolhunting.com, COOLHUNTING.com, and this looks at 6 immersive highlights from this year's Tribeca Film Festival, online and or in person this week's reality enhancing projects and events. So this was literally published 4th of June, which is what, 2 days ago. Um, Events, as far as I believe, start tomorrow. Yes, here we are, 9th to 20th of June. And the most dynamic events from the immersive division to date. And Storyscapes, outdoor interactive experiences, virtual arcade, like a film festival, various. Okay, let's just. Okay, I'm going to quickly change to their website because the pictures here are not showing up in my feed. Here we are. It just goes down a whole load of the different things. Sunder, whatever that be. And this is a Storyscapes thing. Brianna's Garden. Changing same. The Passengers. We are at home. Oh yeah, that's right. There were only 6, weren't there? Back. Okay, so really it's a preview of what's coming in the thing. You can get a free app called Kinfolk, which works with the Juneteenth films, including generative art. I presume that's a mobile app. Let's just check. This is actually tribecafilm.com, which obviously for the, there we are, for a phone or a tablet. Yeah, right. So it's a mobile app that way. Hang on, I need to go back. Yeah, that's right. Okay. What was I about to say? Something else there. Oh yeah. In the reviews, we've lost the photographs here, but they basically tell you the length and what kind of experience they are and what kind of kit you need to actually look at. So, some are HTC 5, some are Oculus probably, some are on screen, so you can get all the information, what the 6 they've chosen, or you can click through to Tribeca Film for a wider view of what's going on. So finally, that very, very last post of the week here. And this is simply called The Growth of Multi-Experience Platform, one from today. Multi-experience solutions, there's a link there which goes to a Tech Magazine article. Okay, very good. Oops, I think I prefer the other one. Right, this site is called Valor M. Okay, VALOREMREPLY. So I guess that's sort of valoremreply.com, but it's all one word. Valorem reply. And yeah, it gets to use that page through my Twitter feed. Much to say here. Good old Gartner diagrams. The hype cycle included multi-experiences. Golly. A lot of technical stuff to read there. So, HoloLens. They're looking at quite a lot of stuff. It's all more or less XR, spatial computing and stuff. For multi-experience platforms, they're really talking about the any platform that is a combination of experience. So an audio experience, or you can have a visual experience, but it's an audio visual experience. It is also a de facto multi experience, if you see what I mean. Right, okay, so that's the last one. I'm not going to stay with that, so remove that. And we are all done there. Indeed, we are. So I shall just return to our memorial pick for Abby Goldberg there. So that's it, James. James, your thoughts on All and Sundry?
Oh,
If you have
gracious.
such a thing.
Yeah, so many
I
things.
get it.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just say I can't see how long we've actually been on air for this show, but the beginning bit was certainly a lot quicker and easier for me. But I guess, well, I don't know. Much the best.
1 hour and 52 minutes according to OBS.
Oh. Oh well, I thought the video bits at the front beginning went a lot quicker because of the way I was
Mm-hmm.
showing that. Anyway, yeah. So your thoughts? Sorry, I
Uh,
butted in, didn't I?
I can relate to the article about you know the subtle cues in voice and things in a virtual world, and I just personally relate to it because as an individual, I would prefer to either communicate with someone by email or by video conference, and anything in between there, I'm a person who's very susceptible to persuasion, and so I don't like being in a place where I can't read those cues, especially if it's a salesperson. And I find so
Oh
often that
God, yeah.
salespeople are desperate to get me on a phone call because that's where they shine. That's where they can take a conversation and make it go whatever direction they want. And
Yeah,
I'm pretty vulnerable in that situation. So either all immersive or no immersive is my preference.
that's that's actually interesting because I suppose when I conceive of not only of ultimate metaverse but also any components of it, um, I can see the entry would be something that can be either very simple or quite complex.
Hmm.
I'm not into, as you know, not into the headsets and stuff, but I like the idea that I have a messaging program called Radagast on one of
Yeah.
my old Windows machines, and it's
Yeah.
open some of the time, so it allows me to get occasional pings from people I know in Second Life. It also because it shows me as being logged in, even though I'm not. But if something important comes up, I can then jump into Second Life as a result of that. Same with Discord messages coming there and events about to start on some sim in OpenSim grid in
Hmm.
OpenSim region on the grid in OpenSim, and I can take the information there and then log in. It's a bit complicated. It's not like a simple link that will actually launch the client and choose the world and get you in. But I mean, if I hear there's an event happening in Sansar and I know 15 minutes beforehand, then I can log in, find it, and turn up. Um, and the same with Second Life. Second Life takes a bit longer. Why? It's very laggy when you first log in as a rule. Um, but yeah, so that text messaging of you know, say the simplest interface. I mean, somebody might say, "Can you come on the show?"
Hmm.
Um, next Wednesday or something. And that's a text message. I can get it in Radagast. I can reply in Radagast. I never need to go near the world itself. But it's available to me if I do. Now, once upon a time, Linden Labs actually had their own app, which was a halfway between those two. Yeah, you could actually call your friends
Right.
using VVox on the desktop. So I can make a call from my desktop to a friend who's already in world, or also onto their desktop. Um, I forget that was even called now, but that went the way of Waze,
Right.
unfortunately. I
Right.
mean, I think it was costing Linden Labs quite a lot of money because they have to rent the service off VVox.
I did like it though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah. So that was useful too. But so it was all to me, it was kind of layers, right?
Hmm.
Um, Now, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, which way would you say you prefer something like a video
Uh,
call
yeah, very
or
immersive where I can
text?
see nonverbal cues, or non-immersive.
Yeah.
No cues to be expected. Like text
Video
messaging.
call to
Yeah.
so video call to you is is actually ultimately more immersive than the virtual world.
Oh no,
Okay.
the virtual world is more immersive, but there's so few people that can interact in a virtual world. I would not expect my
Oh,
my mortgage agent to join me in Second Life.
no, sure. Yeah, actually, there might be exceptions, but no, sure, I
Right,
know what you mean.
right.
Right, okay, yeah, I understand you now. Yeah, so obviously, yeah, I think I'm the same. Um, I I'm aware whenever my phone rings, it actually goes through Skype, so there's no such thing as a landline now. But
Mhm,
the
mhm,
my mobile and my landline via Skype, as it were. I mean, jump a bit when they ring. Um, but and the God Emperor Messenger too, which
mm, mhm.
one of my relatives uses all the while.
Right.
Um, when they ring, they make me jump, and I get a bit suspicious. And of course, I want to check before who it is before I answer.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas both of them, although it doesn't work with people's landline phones, the good thing is that out of habit, most people I talk to regularly would actually do a text.
Mhm.
And they say, "I am. Are you in?" And I would say yes. And I say, "Going to ring you now. Okay for a call."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then have the call. So by the time I'm in the call, whether it's video or audio, I'm expecting it and uncomfortable.
Yep.
Right? If I got a text saying, if I could answer an audio call, saying, who is it, right?
Mhm.
Before long before it stopped ringing, and the person could say who they were. I could then choose whether to answer it or not. So
Mhm.
cold
Mhm.
callers and stuff like that.
Yep.
But they won't usually admit who they are.
Right.
They'll be a fake name until they've got you in the conversation. But
Yeah.
it's a degree thing. I don't like being interrupted and people intruding in my life, except when I want them to.
Mhm.
And then I really want them to. And it's a funny line, I don't want to get wound up in conversations that bore me or go on forever or too snoopy. So I take plans to like ignore them. But on the other hand, the price I pay is I possibly miss out on calls and conversations and interactions that would, at the end of the day, prove rather full or something.
Yep.
But it's a cautionary thing. I think, like you, I'm just sort of think, keep it down to the basics and cautionary, and text starts with text, then it goes to voice, then it goes to video.
Right.
Really, until you start including the virtual worlds and the meeting platforms like Zoom, Skype, I suppose is more one to one as a rule, whereas Zoom's more of a group thing. Mm. But I get a lot of people who complain about Zoom fatigue because um, um, they don't like that face-to-face interaction, and although they'd be happy with it in real life, right?
Hmm.
That what they get is on Zoom calls, people tend to stare at you and stare at their camera a lot more. Um, it's not just free and easy like it might be in real life. Not everybody having a conversation for 10 minutes looks each other dead in the face for the whole 10 minutes. You know, you gesture to things, you use your hands and stuff like that. And normally on Skype, Zoom calls, it cuts off at your shoulders. You know, you really got to raise your hand. Well, it's down to your camera, but you know, you lose out on the gestures and things like that. And unfortunately, it's so close to the camera too that little things like little ticks in your face or blinking too much or stuff like that can be misread too.
Yep.
I found um, I had somebody in um, on one screen, my old Windows machine in Messenger, I think, and I was looking something up right on my Mac, which is only just shifted away from it a bit. It's not like they're seeing the back of my head, right? And they were complaining. They're saying, "You still there? You still there?" And they could see me and hear me. Didn't like the way my eyes had shifted to be looking left of them.
Hmm.
Life, that just would never be a problem. you know, you've turned your eyes to look up something or to whatever, and people almost suspect what you're doing to be on the same screen that you're talking on. And if it's not, then they take offense that you're looking away from them and they think you're not interested in them anymore. And that's actually more the case, I think, on Zoom calls. If you're on a one-to-one video call, you normally know who you're dealing with. And you are talking one to one, so they know why you're shifting your eye away. But on a Zoom call, sort of, as you know, I've got a little avatar that looks like me on a virtual background, and I use that for Zoom calls most of the time. And
Hmm.
although the lips keep moving, people can't see if I walk away or walk around the room. They can't even see if I'm dressed or not. And it's a good substitute. To me because it brings the idea of an avatar into a Zoom call, and if anything, it's a novelty. It certainly proves that it's not necessary to have your real mugshot on a video Zoom call.
Hmm.
It has a different sort of function, and I think that's why some Zoom conferences and things like that. I always happy to go on camera within reason, certainly with the fake one. But you get a lot of people. There might be 30 people on a Zoom call, and some of at least two-thirds of them are on audio only, and then the other third will be on video, and it'd be very imbalanced. You think, what's the one that's not showing their face on video got to hide? you know.
Hmm.
So I mean, well, it's a free for all really, but I don't really know there's an existing rule book because it just changes according to circumstance. I mean,
Oh yeah, and
if
culture.
if we ever yeah, if we ever get to the point of interfacing with helmets on most of the time, even smart glasses and things, it's just who knows what the new rule books will be. What if I'm taking a video call with smart glasses? I will see them through the smart glasses. Presumably, there'll be little cameras at the side that allow them to see me somehow, or maybe it'll be one way. I don't know. They'll come up with some solution, that's for sure. Um, but will it actually alter our behavior? Because we'll be using, glasses or a helmet or something
Yeah,
to make that call.
I would
Don't
expect it
really
would.
know.
Yep.
Yeah. But if you're out and about, for example, and you're going to use advanced technology, you're going to be walking around down the street with traffic and everything else while you're wearing a headset, but you might be with glasses. And, there might be, ways that you can actually mix the opaque with the transparent so you can see through the glasses in some ways, but you will get an inset window where you see the person on the call or whatever. Yeah, so who knows what gadgets are
Who
down the
walks down
road?
the
That's the
street? Who walks down the
yeah.
street anymore? What is this thing you're talking
Well,
about? Walking down the street.
but that's a whole different problem. I
Oh,
mean,
that's something we did before the pandemic. Oh, I remember
that's
that.
yeah, that's something we did once upon a time. Yeah, but and maybe we won't again. I don't know, but no. Even if everything's online, I mean, it's just not. If you do have a headset, I don't do,
Hmm.
but I know if I did have, I would like one that really extended the experience that was on my desktop, and maybe that extends the experience that's on my tablet. And I will graduate to the degree of immersion depending on the circumstance.
Hmm.
Take a phone call and it'd be audio. I would switch it to video. Now I would then at my end I would switch from our device to the desktop. And then if I wasn't happy with the desktop, I would then switch into a headset mode. If you see what I mean. So I would jump into immersion and the conversation or whatever, depending in the degrees of immersion, depending on how I felt comfortable. If somebody starts off with a text that becomes an audio call, that becomes a video call, talking about how to build something for or design something for an exhibit, the logical thing is, well, hang on, let's first go into OpenSim and work on it together. And whether I'm on the headset or whether I'm looking at the well, it doesn't work on OpenSim and headsets don't work. But in theory, whether I'm on a headset or looking at the screen doesn't really matter. But it is important that I take that immersive step because until I get there, we can't collaborate. We both need our tools to work with each other. We
Right.
can talk to our heart's content, but unless we see each other rezzing this or distorting that or whiteboarding an idea, we actually need that extended immersion there. But of course, when we're talking about a lot of these things, I'm not likely to be collaborating with somebody in the virtual world that I don't already trust anyway. So whether their avatar is shifty or not is sort of irrelevant to the topic at hand, so to
Yep.
speak. So
Yep.
I don't know. Oh, you triggered me into another rabbit hole, didn't you? You're very good at this. Yeah, just when I think the show's over,
Just when I have
I
a
ask you
thought,
what I
right?
ask you. I ask you what you think, and you, you say something for 2 minutes. I continue for 2 hours. Never mind. I think we better
Well,
call it quits.
most technicians just stay in the darkness. I could move off to the
Yeah,
side.
yeah. Actually, I'm wondering where I'm vaguely thinking of having guests on here, but not for like in World Review style, but like news commentator each week, so that as I'm going through the stuff, maybe somebody could discuss it.
Hmm.
They'd share the screen leave thing, and
Right, right.
you'd be there, but as well. But
It's okay. Here, I'll
no,
just.
no, I just mean there might I don't know, but might be worth trying out. What I don't want it to be like an interview situation where you get a guest in and we spend the whole show interviewing them.
That's right.
I
That's
want it
okay,
to be
Mal. I'll
somebody
just.
what.
I'll just go back here and stand
No,
in behind the curtain.
no, I didn't mean that. There's two of you anyway. No, no. So I'm just thinking. My main thought was it might be worth raising a third seat between us,
Hmm.
so to
Hmm.
say, if we
I
need it.
understand. Yep.
Anyway. Well, we can talk about that offline. I'm still on air, am I not?
You are indeed.
You walked. You. I hope you haven't walked away from your knobs too.
No, no, no. I wouldn't do that.
Okay. You just walked. You just walked. You've walked away in a huff. As
That's right.
long
I'm
as you
just
can still so long as you can still do the knobs, I don't care.
Yep.
Be in a huff if you want to.
There we are. I'm backstage.
Love it. Right, okay. Well, folks, I guess we call it quits there. It's actually goodbye from that guy who's turned his head away from us.
And it's goodbye from that guy who's looking into the camera.
Yeah, that makes two of us, but not doing the same thing for once. Interesting that.
Hmm.
Anyway, it's all this stuff, mixed reality, MR, XR, VR, AR, you name it. We cover it because
We
Okay, folks, stay safe, stay at home if you can, keep well, stay away from invisible enemies. And I'm not talking about avatars anymore. You know what I mean. And yeah, stay safe and have as good a week as you can. And we will return same time, same place next week. Um, Although if you're watching replay, that could be any time at all, really, couldn't it? Oh, there's a song there. Any time at all.
Mm.
Oh, but never mind, never mind. The last thing you need is a singing rabbit hole, isn't it? Right.
Mm.
Good night, everywhere. Good luck. Bye for now.